Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I am Tamara Johnson-shealey. Good morning. It is Saturday. Guys, we're already into September. Can you believe it? We're 2 months away from the election. Y'all, this has been a crazy political season. I have had a wonderful, just a wonderful time, this great experience traveling around the great state of Georgia. For those of you that don't know, I spent the month of August in a very small RV around the state of Georgia, getting an opportunity to meet people, hear their issues, hear the concerns, share my platform, guys. It was an amazing experience until halfway through the trip in Macon. I was walking and literally stepped into a hole, a big sinkhole, and fell into the sinkhole and sprained my ankle. And I knew I was injured, everybody. I did, but I was committed to this race and I was going to stick and stay out there. And I did. And I wrapped my ankle, I iced it, and I got through the rest of the trip, but came back home and y'all, I have a sprained ankle. But it was worth it. Crazy as that sounds, but it was such an amazing experience. I met so many wonderful people, heard stories that will break your heart. We just have a lot of work to do here in Georgia. But David isn't with me this morning, guys, but I have someone who's going to sit in, and I'm super excited, y'all. So here's the story. David found an article on that was in the Daily Coast about this gentleman who had traveled around Georgia, and he had started counting Trump signs and Biden signs and Jesus signs, and he was all over Georgia. And David found this man, and I was like, David, we got to get him on. And now David isn't here today, but he is, guys. So I'm going to bring Forrester Bob to the broadcast. Let me see where he is. Let's bring him in. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Good to be here.
Good morning. Thank you for joining me. David is going to be so angry that he found you and now he's not even here to enjoy this great conversation.
Yeah, well, he will just have to watch the replay of this, I guess. That should make him happy.
Yes.
I'll try to fill in admirably for him, okay?
I can't wait for you to meet him. David and I have been hosting this broadcast now for 2 years. Actually, we started in July of 2018.
Okay.
We started hosting this broadcast, and guess what? We have been doing it every week since. We talk about all issues related to Georgia. We talk about we bring activists in. We lend our broadcast to activists. We actually have a candidate forum that's going on today down in Waycross, Georgia. We're going to bring on those individuals so we can hear what's going on there as well. But
Okay.
we lend our broadcast to everything Georgia. We talk about race, racism, race relations. We talk very candidly. We're never scripted. We're just open, honest, candid. We just go for it. So thank you for joining us this morning, Forrester Bob.
Yeah, good to be here. So
and tell us how you got the name Forrester Bob.
Okay, it's actually quite simple because my first name is Bob, and I am a forester. I have a degree in forestry from the University of Missouri, and all my adult life I have worked in that trade. I've lived in various states of the South. I've lived in the Pacific Northwest, particularly Portland, Oregon, to be exact, and then ended up back in the South. So I've been around. I've seen a lot of the country. I've seen a lot of the forests, and also a lot of the countryside and a lot of the people all over the U.S.
You know what, Forrester Bob, I can tell you that now that I've traveled in this little small RV into these very rural areas, I have such an appreciation now for nature, for being out in the world, in the woods. It is beautiful. It is serene. Waking up in these RV parks where I've heard nothing but the birds chirping. You can hear the squirrels running. You hear, just nature. It is such, I don't know what it is, but I'm drawn to it now.
Yeah, well, I could entertain you with thousands of pictures I've taken. I'll move aside the pictures behind me there. The top one is just a Douglas fir forest in Oregon where the sunlight was just right at sunset and it lit up all the trees. And then below that is Crater Lake in Oregon. And so I
Mm.
just, I get to go to all kind of great places like that. And, it's kind of part of my business. And I really
Mm-hmm.
enjoy that aspect of it, of getting to see a lot of the countryside that other people just don't get to see.
Hmm. And it's beautiful, and I'm from rural Georgia. So I remember like as a little girl, they would open the windows in the morning and that cool, fresh, cool breeze. The air was so crisp and clean. It's like now that I'm moving, I've had a chance to move around the state and seeing your pictures, I'm sure you feel the same way. Like, this is heaven on earth.
Yeah, well, even in the suburbs of Macon, I sure open my windows when I can. This time of year, that's not really an option, but when it gets a little bit cooler, you bet I will.
Well, I invited Forrester Bob to the broadcast, everybody, because Forrester Bob wrote an article for the Daily Coast that David, like I said, David is going to be so mad at me. David, I love you. David found this article and he shared it with me. Forrester Bob had an opportunity to travel around the state. He was counting Trump signs, Biden signs, Jesus signs. You saw it all, Forrester Bob. Tell everybody about the article you wrote in Daily Coast.
Okay, it was really a loop through west central Georgia, so it wasn't the entire state, but it was certainly a representative sample. I think if you go to any rural parts of the state, you would see pretty much the same thing. But the title of my article was something along the lines of I drove 237 miles through rural Georgia, and I'm ready for the giant meteor to strike. Because it was pretty depressing seeing all of those Trump signs. And so after I'd seen maybe 8 or 10 of them, I started counting them. And so the tally, if I remember right, and I only counted one sign per residence or business. A lot of the Trump true believers have a whole yard full of signs and flags. So I only counted one for each home or for each business. So I wasn't running up the score. But the final total was 74 Trump signs, 9 Jesus 2020 signs. And one of the commenters in the article pointed out that she didn't think that Jesus was born in the United States and is probably not eligible to be voted for. So that led to a discussion of where's the birth certificate. There were 3 Confederate flags that were flown with Trump flags or, with Trump signs. There was one other Confederate flag just displayed by itself. There was one sign that said, Trump is my president, Jesus is my savior. And then as far as Biden signs, there weren't any. I didn't see one.
I didn't see any of them either. I'm gonna tell you, and I wasn't even counting, but I noticed so many Trump signs, Jesus signs, Confederate flags. They have their own. That is truly their world. But there's voters there, and I'm clear because I've seen them. I've talked to them.
Yeah,
There's
and see
progressives there.
that's what you have on me. I haven't really talked to that many people. I'm just passing by and taking mental notes and sometimes taking pictures. But yeah, you're on a mission to talk to voters, and so you have a totally different perspective on it.
Yeah, and they they're in the shadows. Those that I found, they're not very vocal, but they're there, and that was encouraging for me. Even though I saw, this Republican land, because that's what it felt like outside of the metro area. Those Democrats were there, and they're there. It's just they're kind of in the shadows.
Yeah. How many of them are married to people who have Trump signs in the yard?
Yeah, right.
You met any of them?
I didn't meet any of them, but I'm sure there's some.
Okay. Yeah, we're kind of hoping that those people will cancel out the votes of the people who have the signs.
Well, I have Waycross and a live remote from Waycross. You gonna stay with me for a little while for us because I have a lot more questions for you.
Yeah, I'll stick around.
Okay, awesome. So we're gonna go live from Waycross. Let's bring Kanisha in. Let's see where she is. Good
Hello.
morning, Kanisha. Good
Good
morning. Live,
morning.
live from Waycross, Georgia.
Yes, we're very excited. We're out here with a few vendors. A lot of the candidates said that they will be here like after 11:45, but we do have Mr. Primus here. We have Miss Catherine Grant with the Census Department, and right here, this is Miss Yawanda Galbert. She's our host for today, and she's going to take you around to see the vendors and what we're doing out here today.
Awesome, awesome. Good morning. How are
Good
you?
morning. I'm awesome. Great to meet you. So, what we're doing
Likewise.
out here today, we have a booth set up to get people registered to vote. There's a voters registration booth right here. We got all
Awesome.
this, we got all these glorious things here for us. I mean, we got people out, vendors out getting set up. We're gonna be selling masks, all these different beautiful masks out here. Just all kinds of great stuff. Books. We're giving books out to the children, literature. We got candles, cups, popcorn, flavored popcorns. We got Miss Tasha here. She's making flavored waters and popcorns and I got nope. Miss Tasha's out here.
Oh, there we go.
Good
Hi.
She's
morning.
doing all kind of things for you guys.
We have gourmet popcorn, gourmet lemonade. We have designer masks, candles, mugs. Come and see us.
Awesome.
Come and
Good
register your
morning.
vote.
That's right. That's right. Now we got snow cones over here. We got Shonda over here with snow cones. She's got all kind of flavors. Come down and see her. She'll make you anything you want.
Awesome.
We need you to come and register to vote. We're giving out books for the children. We got more vendors. We got a book vendor out here. We got a nice lady. I'm gonna take a quick run because she's a little bit further than I anticipated. So we're gonna take a quick little run over here. We got Miss Denise over here. She's got all these nice items, jewelry, all kind of things. You can stock up on your Christmas gifts early. You can come out here and get your voters registration in. Come out here and meet and greet. Have a little fun. We welcome you. Mary Street Park.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. And we look forward to, all the candidates, all that you guys are doing out there today. So as soon as the candidates are there and you're ready to, is Mr. Primus around? There he is. He's
How you
there. Good
doing?
morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Tell everybody your race, sir, and what you're running for.
Hi, I'm not. My name is Evans Primus, and I'm running for Georgia District 176 State Representative. I hope I look nice.
Aw-
I've been doing a lot of running all morning, trying to make sure that everything is up to par in this event.
Yes, yes. Tell us where your district is, Mr. Primus. Tell us what district, what areas you actually cover with your district.
Okay, my area covers Ware County, parts of Ware County, and Pierce County. I mean Ware County, Pearson. That is Atkinson County, Willacoochee. That's also another part of Atkinson County. Lanier County, which is Lakeland and Hahira, and Lowndes County, which is Valdosta.
Awesome. 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 Well, tell everybody why you're running. Let me put your website on the screen so people can know how to support you. Hold on a minute. Tell everybody why you're running and then tell us your website. I'll put it on the screen here.
Yeah, my website is www.evansprimusjr.net. I stand to increase Medicaid. I plan to make a lot of untraditional change because we have a lot of people that are in office right now, and I feel like nothing has changed over the last maybe 20-40 years. And that's what we need, somebody that is maybe not a traditional politician, and we need new faces in there and new ideas and people that can actually relate to the people of the community. So, I have a lot of goals and things that we want to achieve in this area. I want to be a trailblazer of this area because economically we are suffering. We need to increase health care in this area. We need more youth support and youth supervision in this area. We do have a juvenile center, but we do not have a youth center in this area. We don't have a boys' home. Boys and girls club. We don't have. It's a lot of things that we don't have in rural South Georgia, and I think that we need to connect again with the North Georgia area, and I think that will change a lot of the things that are going on. We need to work on our media down here. It's a lot of work that needs to be done in the South Georgia area.
Yeah, and I'm encouraged because it's going to take young people to push and move that ball forward. A lot of the older generation, respectfully, they got theirs, but we have to now go and get ours. And the sad thing is they didn't understand that they have to, give back and make sure that they take care of us that are coming behind them, and they haven't. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Yeah, not to cut you off, but the most important thing is whenever you are someone of great influence, it is so much admirable of you if you would help others that might not know the things that you know, or train others whenever you feel that you're at your point of, you got up in age and you want to, settle back down. You want to dwell on, your financial state, maybe train others. And that's what I want to do. I want us to bridge the gap, that we have made with the racial injustice and racial situations, and just the gap between the elderly and the youth. Understanding each other and understanding our differences, and how can we grow to let others, because we need people that are still that are going to continue fighting this race. And if we don't keep training our youth to be those ones to do that, we will die. We will die off. So that's what I want to change, and I want to, think. And I want to put on the minds of the people is the fact that we convict so many people every year. I think in about 30 years, the U.S. and America will be a area primarily convicted felons. So if we don't start bringing things like centers that fight against the oppression and the systemic racism and the things that keep us bound in this area, a lot of people will not have jobs. So we have to fight for that. We need to advocate for that, because people that are convicted felons, they need to work also. That may be one of the reasons they are convicted felons. So we have to make sure we keep those people employed, and people that are less fortunate, we need to provide assistance for them, and training programs, not to just allow them to be lazy, but provide opportunities to teach them how to gain wealth.
Yeah. Forrester, Bob, you have any questions, comments, concerns, any ideas you want to share here?
No, I've just been taking it all in. Your points are well taken. Especially this whole business of everybody being put in prison, and especially for drug-related offenses. And sometimes it's very minor offenses, and people get that felony on their record, and then even if they do their time and get out, then they have a hard time from there forward making any headway in life, because that record is like a chain around them wherever they go. And so a big part of this whole issue is the whole war on drugs. And I did do a diary on Daily Kos about 5 years ago about that. And, I got pulled over in the middle of the night in Texas, not because I was speeding, but because a cop wanted to search my truck for drugs. And I'm a white guy, and that happens to me. So I can barely imagine what happens to people of color
Yes.
when these things go on.
Yeah. Yeah. So much
Yes,
work
and
to
a lot
do.
of people don't know if you are not on paper, you can actually vote. If you have been a convicted felon and you're not on paper anymore, you can vote. So we need to encourage that and let people know, there's still alternatives to that, and we need to train up our kids to vote. Like 18-year-olds, they should be motivated to vote right now, and that's where we need to trigger. Because now I look at another thing is our youth are now experiencing what the Northerners are experiencing, and that is policemen in your school system. That is a dangerous thing, and I agree that our kids need safety, but I think that with students, with police officers being um, in the actual school system, walking around the hallways, I think is more of a situation of. I think it's like a setup, to set our kids for the juvenile center, especially our kids that are more not disciplined, so undisciplined kids.
Mhm, mhm. Well, Evans, I want to thank you. We're going to come back to you in just a little while. I know there's other candidates that are on the way. I'm going to continue the conversation
Yes,
a little bit with Forrester Bob. I'll let me know when you guys are ready for me to talk to the other candidates, but go to Evans's website, everybody. That's Evans. And I always say Primus, but is it Primus? Not
it is.
Premise.
It is Primus.
Primus.net. Go to his website, contribute. Having young people in the legislature gives the legislature a different voice, a different set of ideas to consider. Like we keep putting the same type of people, the same politicians back in office over and over and over again. Nothing changes, and so many things haven't changed here in
Yes,
Georgia. It's kind of like having a gumbo, right? You got to add all the different spices and seasonings to give it that flavor and to give it, that great taste. So it's kind of like what we need to do in the Georgia legislature and across this country. We have to have people with various ideas, a different way of thinking, a different life experience to come into these legislative bodies to really make some real substantive change. So I thank you, Evans, for all that you're doing, and we'll be back with you guys. Keep up the great work you're doing down there in Waycross. Thank you.
yes. Thank you also. And
Yes, I'm gonna put you in the background, but we're ready whenever you are.
oh yeah, we have Miss Joyce Griggs. She's actually on the way. She should be here in a moment, but
Okay.
and we also
Let us
have
know when she's
some more
there.
people. Yes.
Okay, let us know when they're
All
there,
right.
and we'll look forward to continuing the conversation. So just wave at me when you're ready.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Forrester Bob, live from Waycross, Forrester Bob. There's a lot of change that needs to happen here in Georgia, and you and I are on the ground, had a chance to be on the ground across the state to see the change that needs to happen.
Absolutely. And I'm glad to see events like the one happening in Waycross, and
Mhm.
you helping to spread the word about it, because we do need to get progressive people out there and get more folks involved. And
Mhm.
as was mentioned, there are way too many young people who don't even bother to register to vote, much less actually vote. And you
Mhm.
know, people with a progressive mindset, we outnumber the conservatives, but we can't get enough of our own people to vote. And that's why we
Mhm.
end up with people like Donald Trump in office.
Mhm. Mhm. He's been, he's such a. I don't even know if there's enough words to describe Donald Trump. He's just. I can't believe we're here, but I can believe we're here.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's been a long process. And let me share just a few of my ideas with you, and you may
Mhm.
or may not agree, but I think it's been 40 or 50 year road we've been on. Of course, you had Nixon with his Southern strategy. But then one big landmark that I see was around 1979, when you had people like the televangelists like Jerry Falwell and Pat Robertson joining forces with the Republican Party, and actively pursuing the election of Ronald Reagan. Before then, churches pretty much stayed out of direct politics anyway. They were always in the background, but there was kind of a wall of separation of church and state, and these guys really broke it down. And then came along talk radio, and just for instance, I used to have a neighbor that lived close to me, and when he was working outside, I couldn't tell who it was on the radio, but he was always listening to right-wing talk. And it dawned on me that those voices were really interchangeable. I couldn't really tell from a distance whether it was Rush Limbaugh or Neil Bortz or somebody else, but I could just tell it was an angry white guy, and it was that tone of voice. And people like my neighbor would listen to those voices all day long, and that's got to have a change to their mindset. A few anecdotes from Oregon from the last couple of years, since I had done quite a bit of work in rural Oregon out there. There are two different situations a couple of years ago where I needed to talk to a neighbor to find out how to get into a certain piece of land that was way back off the road, and whether I needed to hike in or if there was a drivable road. And so one guy, I knocked on his door, another guy, I saw him in the yard. But in both cases, the guy, when I knocked on his door, he was in this beautiful location. You were talking about how beautiful rural Georgia is, and of course Oregon is too. He was out at the end of a dead-end road, had this nice piece of land. It was just really pretty countryside. But you open his door, and had Rush Limbaugh blaring from speakers all over his house, and so that was his environment, and that the Rush Limbaugh environment was overwhelming that beautiful scenic environment that he was living in. The other guy, he told the one that I met in his yard. He told me how to get into the woods, and he said, "Hey, when you get back out, it's a really hot day. Why don't you stop in? I'll give you a cold drink. I just want to make sure you make it out safely," which was a nice thing to do. I knocked on his door, and he was in the living room watching Fox TV, watching Fox News, and so these people have gotten so immersed in the right-wing bubble that they overlook what their neighbors might be thinking. They overlook the beauty around them, and their TVs are tuned to Fox, their radios are turned to right-wing talk. The small-town newspapers have right-wing editorials in them. A lot of them go to really conservative churches that really play off of Republican politics. And if those people don't reach out or make an effort, they're totally surrounded by like-minded people, or at least people they think are like-minded. And this has been going on for decades. It's not something that happened overnight.
That's so interesting, Forrester Bob, that you would say that. It goes back to, I'm a child of the 70s. I was born in the early 70s. So, but I do remember as a little girl, I do remember the presidency of Ronald Reagan. And when I think about it, you're right. They felt like the Republicans, and then bringing in these, it was as if they owned God. As if God was theirs and
Yes.
God wasn't anybody else's, as if they were, everything was, they were God and God was them, and they owned God. And I kind of remember thinking back to his presidency, and I think it set a dangerous precedence like a long time ago with, the Republican Party being able to just be, capture these people that were God fearing. And this is where I've been able, as a candidate, Forrester Bob, to have conversations, because I'm a God-fearing woman. I believe just like they believe. And if usually when I talk to them, we're gonna find that common ground. Like, we're gonna find where we meet, where we agree, and then I don't know where it goes the other way. Like, there's something that they still can't let go of, even when they can agree. They know that I'm right. We're on the same page. We can agree, but then there's something that they can't let go of, and that's where I think that's where it becomes racial. That's where I think I'm thinking it's the racist part of them, like the white supremacy. There's that piece of it that's where my disconnect comes.
Yeah, and I moved to Georgia about 25 years ago, and at the time, and before that, my first job out of college was in Louisiana in the 1970s, and talk about a culture shock there. So, 20 years later, I moved to Georgia, and it just seemed to me on the surface that things had gotten a whole lot better. I mean, you'd see interracial couples at restaurants and nobody was harassing them. You go to the parking lot of a sawmill or a paper mill, and you'd see that it was a mixed race workforce and people were driving nice cars. So on the surface, it looked like it was a whole lot better. But that kind of, that veneer kind of came off the surface when Obama got elected. There were several incidents where I'd be out in the woods, and a lot of the work I would do would be on privately owned forest land, sometimes on timber company land, but around here it's usually private land. And the landowner or one of their brother or a neighbor or somebody would see me out there, and they'd strike up a conversation. And they'd see me as a white guy, and they would say the most outlandish racial things. They would just assume that I was one of them. And so that kind of peeled the veneer back and made me realize that there was a lot more racism out there than I thought there was.
And this is where it becomes your job, Forrester Bob. And this is the conversation that David, I can't wait for you to meet David. Y'all are going to kick it. Y'all are going to hit it off like y'all been knowing each other forever. But this is where David and I talk about like this allyship. Like, how do you, as a white guy who you don't think like that, how are you able to push back? I know in some instances you probably can't, based on the fact that you're at work and this may not be the right time, but in some instances, how have you been able to push back when they come and show you themselves, and you show them that I don't think that way?
I try to assess the circumstances of the moment and see whether that's the time and the place. We have to choose our battles. And if it's a group of people that I don't know very well and I'm outnumbered, or if they have guns or whatever, I just try to steer clear of the topic. And but if it's a one-on-one situation, and maybe in a if I come back for another broadcast, I can tell a story about one guy I encountered in Oregon, and he actually made references back to Georgia that were racist. And that led to a long conversation. Or if you want me to talk about it right now, I can do it.
Yeah, tell me. I'm curious. Like, I don't even want to wait.
Okay, you don't want to wait. All right. So this was just last summer. So it was 2019 in the northeast corner of Oregon, which is beautiful country, very rural, and I've worked out there a number of years. Some of the land out in the Northwest is extremely steep and rugged, hard to get through. But there's a big patch of timberland out there that's pretty easy to get around. And so I all things being equal, I try to work on land like that. And that land belongs to a major timber company. And so they have gates out there. And for much of the year, those gates are locked. And so if you see somebody back there on the land, you know that they have some business there, that they're a forestry worker, they're a rancher, because there's cattle running in the woods. If you see somebody back there, you know that they have some kind of connection that they're a contractor, they're a farmer, they're somebody. So I'm on my way into the woods, and about a mile down this gravel road past the lock gate, and I see a guy out beside the road hanging up that bright colored flagging that you see in the woods a lot. And so I stopped to talk with him, and started out with just the typical trading war stories, about running into yellow jacket nests and hornet nests and seeing snakes and stuff like that. The typical types of story that people that work outdoors will share. And I'd mentioned that I would, my story that I lived in Georgia most of the year, but I come out to the Northwest to work, and so he knew that I was not a local guy. And we talked maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and finally said, "Hey, I need to get on do my work. I got a lot of work to do." And he said, "Well, okay, just be sure to keep Stacey Abrams in line for me, okay?" I couldn't let that go.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he told me I needed to keep Stacey Abrams in line. So I couldn't let that go. So I went into the whole story about the hundreds of thousands of people who were kicked off the voter rolls, and how some 300,000 of them were found to be legitimate voters who should have been allowed to vote. And and what I've noticed with people like that, not just this one particular man, but with people who are in the right-wing bubble in general, is that they have this whole list of stuff that they go through. And so if you say something that makes them uncomfortable, if they have a hard time defending, they just change the subject to something else on the list. And so he immediately pivoted to guns and to abortion. And he told me over and over again those were the two most important things to him. And but one of my rebuttals to him was, I was, when I was living in the dorm room in a dormitory of my college almost 50 years ago, I was having conversations with other people about those two subjects, and we didn't solve them then, and you and I aren't going to solve them either. So what's the point of you bringing those up to me when there's a lot more important things? It's and you got to think about, how has it come to this, that so many people have those two issues as their two top issues? That didn't come to them naturally. They had to be immersed in it somehow, to where somebody came along and told them over and over again that those were the most important things. So in the case,
you know what? Let me tell you something on the heels of that before you go into your next point. That when I had a neighbor, sweet lady. I have a neighbor. She's still my neighbor. Sweet lady, older white woman. She and I have walked together a few times in the neighborhood. Sweet lady. Republican, Trump supporter, loves me, I love her. Christian, we meet there. So you're right, they always go back to abortion. So she made a comment about how Democrats support abortion. I said, that's not true. I said, just because you're pro-choice does not mean you're not pro-life. Like I believe that it's a woman's right to choose. I'm pro-life. Like I believe, if she chooses to have a baby, that's her, but it's my body and I should make that choice. So and she couldn't really even say anything. She just kind of just didn't say anything more. And like, either they get quiet on what you said, or they change the subject. And she didn't say anything more about that. And we started talking about something else, just got away from it.
A lot of them have, their favorite topics that they need to go to. And it's basically just the talking points that you hear on Fox News, or that you hear Republican politicians talking about all the time. And it's difficult to get into a logical conversation with these people, because most of what they're dealing with is more emotional rather than factual. And
no critical thinking. Like, it's like they have been programmed to say what they say, think what they think, and then they don't actually say, well, give it some thought from within. Like, no critical thinking at all.
And so another thing along those same lines too is that since I do travel quite a bit, I have friends that I've kept in touch with. People I knew from when I was in college, and maybe the decade after that. There's several people that I know very well and stayed in touch with all these years. And some of them, when I see them again, it's just the same old person that I always knew. But there's 3 or 4 of them that every time I see them, they've migrated politically. And so if you're seeing somebody day after day, like say if they're your next door neighbor, you might not notice that change very, very well. But if you see somebody 5 years, saw somebody 5 years ago, and now you see them again, and you see that their politics have shifted strongly to the right, it's like, okay, what's happened? And so they have voluntarily and perhaps unknowingly put themselves into that bubble and surrounded themselves with like-minded people, and the social media accounts that they follow, and everything they do keeps them in that bubble. They might not.
It's sort of like brainwashing, right? Like, do you think it's like some sort of brainwashing?
It is. I hate to use that expression, but it is. But it is a migration away from critical thinking. And so for my older friends, I try to be as assertive as I possibly can with them. Because I feel like having known them for 30 or 40 years, I have a little bit of license with them, and they might let me run with it a little bit. And so on my way home from out west last fall, I had an encounter like that with a friend I've known for that long, and he's really made a hard right turn. I first noticed it about 20 years ago. When he was young, he was pretty much apolitical. I don't remember having much in a way of political conversations, when I first knew him. But each time I've seen him in the past 20 years or so, he's been farther to the right.
Yeah.
But this time he was so far to the right. Well, he had Fox News on, and it was,
wow.
It was football season, and it was a weekend, so I kept on trying to get him to watch football instead. But every once in a while he'd bring it back to Fox. Bring it back to Fox.
Hold that thought. We're going to bring in Kanisha. I think she's trying to get my attention down there. One second.
I don't know if she's going to put us back on.
Yes. Good morning, Kanisha. We're back on live.
I'll show her yours. I'm going to.
Yeah, talking. Kanisha, we're back live again. Can you hear us?
My name is Kanisha. Yeah, I'm the one promoting.
Yeah. Okay. So I thought she was waving at me. She was still having a conversation. So you were saying your friend was even more to the right now than ever before.
Yeah. And so there was one Trump ad that kept on running on the TV. In fact, I think the thing that finally made me to not keep quiet anymore was the ad ran during a football game, and it was Trump talking about how Joe Biden was a liar, and I finally just said, that's mighty rich coming from a guy who's told 18,000 lies, or whatever that was. Oh, and my friend just went ballistic. That how could you possibly say that about Donald Trump? And so I guess I'll stop my thought right there and think about what brings a person. Donald Trump is supposed to be one of the most powerful and wealthy people on earth. What brings a person of modest means who lives, in East Texas to immediately jump to the guy's defense? Where in a rational conversation, he would have said, well, that's a pretty strong accusation you're making there, Bob. Do you have any evidence for it? But he didn't do that. He immediately started bashing the news media and the fake news.
No.
Yeah,
I don't know
and then now you'll love this too. Then he immediately, instead of wanting to discuss that issue even further, he immediately pivoted to Antifa. As if any of us really cared about Antifa. Now it's made the news more recently, with the protests. But in October of 2019, how many people cared at all about Antifa?
Yeah.
But that was one of his top concerns, because that's what was on Fox News all the time.
I don't know how we get out of our corners. And this is where I think politically, I'm hopeful that people will take the time this year in 2020 to really think critically about where you stand and what's in your best interest, and come out of your corners. I'm a progressive, I'm an independent thinker. I don't lean one way or the other. I am a Democrat, but I do open my mind to hearing all of it. And I really hope that as we move into these 2020 elections, that people will listen with everything instead of just listening to what they've been, programmed or what they just going to want to understand. Just listen beyond your own understanding and get out of your corners and hear what is best for all of us. What is best for all of us, not just what is best for me. When we talk about healthcare, for example, I told the story in a forum. I fell in this hole. My ankle is sprained. I go to the doctor. I'm already paying, just me alone, not including my family's part of the insurance. My insurance alone is $500 a month. No pre-existing conditions, and I still pay $500 a month. Right? I go to the doctor, and I went to the orthopedic. I still had to leave there paying these people $300, in addition to the fact that I already have insurance. So when we talk about healthcare, we need a system that is, no matter who you are, no matter how much money you have, you are able to see a doctor. That, something that benefits all of us equally, equitably, not just you might get some better treatment than I. No, how do we get treatment and get seen and a healthcare system that works for all of us?
And to me, that's a real indication of how so much of the conservative side of this country has really gone down a rabbit hole as to why anyone would be opposed to other people getting health care. But that's what it's come to. Why would I want you to not have health care? But there's a lot of people out there that don't want either of us to have it.
And that is I can't even. You and I we can't understand that. I can't understand that. I won't understand that.
But that's the way it's become. And so, and some of these people end up later on, they think they're comfortable, they have good health insurance or whatever. But if they lose it, and that's happened to a lot of people this year, people who had jobs who don't have them anymore, because of COVID, all of a sudden they're out scrambling to get health insurance, and they're not as comfortable as they used to be.
Let's see where Kanisha is. Let's hold that thought just 1 second, because we're going to run out of time here. Let's see. Kanisha, are you there? No, she's not back yet. Okay, she'll wave at me. Let's see. Let's see.
I can't.
She keeps looking. Kanisha, are you there?
I'm sorry, I can't really hear.
I know.
From my end or what?
So, are there any candidates that's around that we can talk to? That we can have they come in yet? Any candidates around yet?
No, I haven't. Joyce Griggs hasn't made it here yet. I just got a phone call. She said she told me to give her about 10 more minutes. I know the show is almost over. But before we end, I just want to make mention to the candidates that what we're trying to push right now. We just sent a lot of people out to go get a lot of youth, because we need the graduates. We're looking for 2019 and 2020 graduates to come out and join us today, because our graduates are our future candidates. And that's why that's very important to us. And we're going to go talk to Mr. Primus. He's not even here. He just went out to go talk to some guys in the community, see if they want to come out and register to vote, if they're convicted felons, because we need people to know, if you're not on paper and you've completed it, you're allowed to vote. Your voice matters, and you can vote.
Yes. Thank you, Kanisha, for all you're doing down in Waycross. I wish you much success with your event today. share pictures, and I'll share them on my page. Spread the word,
Thank
and
you.
I'm excited about your all that you guys are doing down in Waycross, Georgia.
Okay. All right. Thanks,
All
guys.
righty. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a
Bye-bye.
great afternoon. All righty. So yes, Forster Bob, I thank you for staying with me today. This conversation has been great. And this is how we change America. When we have these true, candid conversations, and we're honest, and we're open, and we're receptive to each other, that this is how we change America.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the things I miss, really, because when I was, I think, 15 years old, my dad ran for a county office, and he won, and he served 2 terms. And so, ever since I've been a kid, I followed politics. And back then, you could be, one person could be a Democrat and the other be a Republican, and you could easily have a conversation about politics. And you had a lot of points that you would agree on, or not have huge disagreements on. Sometimes it's just a matter of, well, I think we should handle it this way instead of that way. We both agree something should be done, but what's the right course of action? And now people get so emotional about it that they slam the door on any good conversation, and it's hard to make any progress when we've reached the point where the only course of action with dealing with a lot of the people on the other side is to vote them out of office if they're in office, or if they're the voters, is to overwhelm them. And that's the situation we're at now. We just got to overwhelm them at the polls this year.
Yeah, hold on. I think we have Joyce Griggs. She's running for the 1st congressional district in Georgia. Joyce, is that you? Hey, Joyce.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. How you all doing?
You're doing good.
Good.
Joyce Griggs, 1st congressional district candidate. Good morning.
Good morning. It's good to see everybody this morning. And guess what? I am fired up and ready to go.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Tell everybody where your district is, Joyce.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Our district runs all the way from Savannah all the way to the coast. We go from Chatham County. We go to Bryan County, which is Richmond Hill, Liberty County, which is Hinesville. We go on down to Long County, Little Wissy. We go up to Jessup, which is Wayne County, and some other cities through there. Then we go on down to Blackshear, Pierce County. Then, of course, Waycross, Ware County. We got Camden County. We got St. Mary's, several places at St. Mary's. That's where the submarine base is. We got a little part of Waycross. Lowndes County. Okay, a very small part of Lowndes County up there, Valdosta. And then we have a small section of the county, Effingham County, right outside of Chatham County. We got Clinch County. We got Brantley County. Oh gosh, and we got Ickliffe County, and McIntosh. We got McIntosh. So there's actually 17 counties. And if I left it off, but that's the 1st district. It is huge. Okay.
Wow.
It goes from one end to the other. It really does. But it's been exciting meeting the people and talking with them because they're ready for a change.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And you know what, Joyce? My uncle is Detective Kennedy. Do you know who he is? He says you would know who he is.
In Savannah?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's my uncle. So I wanted to make sure that I tell you. He wanted to make sure that I told you who he was. Yes.
Oh, please. Yes, definitely. I'll get with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
We're excited about your race. Tell everybody why you're running, Joyce, and what you plan to do.
Okay. Well, the reason I am running because in this 1st district, the people just have not had a strong voice in Washington to articulate and represent their needs. And there are so many issues right now. And we need someone there that's not worried about partisan politics or the parties, the Democrat and Republican Party, but the People Party, okay? That represent the people. This district is so diverse. Extreme poverty, rural hospitals, no hospitals in a lot of rural areas. Healthcare is a big issue. And let's face it, in view of this pandemic, we've got to come up with a good plan to make sure that the people that need healthcare get the healthcare. I'm not opposed to expanding the Affordable Affordable Care Act, leaving that open as long as we have to get people in for the medical treatment they need. Job creation. Let's face it, a lot of jobs have been decimated during this pandemic. And a lot of people are unemployed. A lot of people are standing in food lines, and there are going to be more. It's going to get worse, okay? Definitely veterans issues. I am definitely interested in veterans issues because I'm a veteran myself. And I definitely... Okay, there we are. I'm sorry, she had a call coming. But I'm a veteran myself, so definitely I am going to support veterans issues, fight for veterans, because unfortunately those that have served this great country are not getting what they deserve or what they need. The VA system, I know they've been working on it, okay? But there's a lot more work that needs to be done. The claim process is horrible. VA getting medical treatment has been bad. It's been decent for some, but overall, it's not what it should be. And so I will fight for veterans issues. Education is critical. Let's face it, we got to have a strong workforce throughout this district. And there's a lot of companies that don't want to come here because, especially in Savannah area, they say, well, the people don't have the training there. They don't have these job skills that we need. So that's a big issue. Let me tell you what's close to my heart. Criminal and social justice reform. Hey, we've gotta change some things. This is absolutely ridiculous. As most of us know, that during the course of a week or a day, we're hearing about the killing of African American people, men primarily, and people of color. So we've got to change that. The Police Association, I think it was the largest PAC, just endorsed Trump. Okay, quote unquote, because of his stance on law and order. Let's face it, I think most of us are law-abiding citizens, and we agree that there should be some law and order. Okay, but bottom line, it's time out for the police just randomly shooting people or just because they can. I hate to say it like that. So that must be changed at the federal levels. Let me say this: there are monies that goes down to the state for police and other activities, and also we're giving a lot of local police military equipment. I think we need to stop militarizing the police. Okay, and really they're talking about defunding the police. I don't believe necessarily that we need to defund them, but we need to restructure and reorganize, and we need to come up with some national standards on police training. And we need to make sure we have a database set up that if that police officer was fired at another location for misconduct, we can track them. If that police officer is suffering from severe PTSD, we need to know that, because something may trigger them and they may pull that trigger, kill somebody. Okay, so there's a lot that needs to be done there. And also this mass incarceration, this jail system, get rid of private prisons. And it's unfortunate what's going on in America. This is America. I've traveled throughout the world, especially having been in the military, a lieutenant colonel with 33 years of experience. I've traveled throughout. I was an intelligence officer. I am a Bronze Star recipient, went to Iraq 3 times. And it saddens me to come back to see what is going on in our country. And you know what? We are so divisive. Number 45 had stoked the flame of hatred, and we are so divided. And guess what? I believe it was even Khrushchev said years ago that America would destroy itself. It will be destroyed from within. And look at what's going on. We're hating each other. Just because my skin may be a little darker than yours or your eyes may be a different color than mine. It is absolutely ridiculous. We all bleed the same color, and we are all Americans. And I say united we stand and divided we fall. But there are so many issues that are impacting us. Education, okay? These student loans. People are dying in debt with student loans. So there's a lot of issues that we must address and that we must change. And I tell you what, the people can look to me for change. I can't be bought and I can't be bribed. They can't give me money to vote their way. These PACs can keep their money. Okay, I am for the people. Okay, that's the party I'm with. I'm with the People's Party, and I will fight with everything within me to make sure that the people are taken care of. Thank you.
Joyce, give us your website so I can put it on the screen and encourage people to support you and donate. What is your website?
Okay, it's Griggs for Congress. www.griggs for Congress, FOR, Griggs, FOR Congress. And my email is griggs4@gmail.com. My phone number is 912-316-6009. 912-316-6009. So text me, call me, go to the website. You got any questions? I'm available. I'm available for the people. I am a servant, okay? I'm a servant. I've always been a servant.
Yes, ma'am. That's griggs4congress.com. Go to Joyce's website.
That's correct. That is right.
Her, donate, volunteer, vote, get out, everybody, because we have to change the state and the fate of Georgia. We have to. So, Joyce, I thank you for being a fierceless fighter out there. Like you, I love your energy.
Yes. And what I would like to say, yes, I definitely need volunteers. Okay, we need volunteers. And I need any and all help. We need financial support. We need volunteers to get boots on the grounds. So we need all of that. Okay.
Yes. Go to her website again, griggs4congress.com.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you, Joyce. And I look forward to seeing you
all.
soon.
Okay, bless you all. Thank you. We're fired up and we're ready to go. Thank you.
Fired up and ready to go.
All right.
All right, Forrester Bob, we have had a full broadcast this morning. I hope you enjoy being here because I enjoy having you.
Yeah, glad to be here. Yeah, it's too bad Joyce is not in the 8th district. I'd sure be voting for her if she was.
8th is where are you? That's the Bibb, Macon?
Yeah, I'm in Bibb County, and then the 8th district, I guess, goes from here south. It's Austin Scott's district. Mm-hmm. And he's pretty much got a stranglehold on it.
Wow.
But Jim Marshall used to be the congressman here. He was a Democrat, but he was pretty conservative, and his campaigns were pretty frustrating because he was always trying to run away from Nancy Pelosi and run away from the national Democrats. And Joyce there, she wouldn't run away from anything, and that's the kind of candidate we need. That's the kind of Democratic candidate we need all up and down the line.
So, Forrester Bob, do you have a website or a blog site that we can share with everybody?
No, I do my writing through at Daily Kos, and so you can just put that up on the screen. DAILYKOS.com, dailykos.com, and then you can just do a name search for Forrester Bob, and it'll bring up a list of the diaries that I've written. And like I said early on, a lot of the stuff I write about is just about my cat or about nature, but a lot of photo diaries. So if you want to see a lot of pictures from all over the country of beautiful scenery and get away from the politics for a few moments, you can read some of the stuff that I wrote. And occasionally I do write about politics. And interestingly, that diary that I wrote last Saturday, I guess it was, and I just kind of threw it together pretty quickly. It was fairly brief, and it had the lead picture showed somebody's front yard where they had a Trump sign and a Jesus 2020 sign, and then the only other picture I had in that diary was the flagpole that had both a Confederate flag and a Trump flag on it. Yeah. And just had my opinions on it. Well, that diary generated, like I said, I've been on Daily Kos for 11 years, I guess. And that diary generated far more comments than any other that I've ever posted. Like hundreds more.
We found you from that.
It was more than 900 comments. And I think 600 was my record before that.
Wow. Look.
And so some people were just saying, "Oh, this is a bunch of nothing," or looking down on country folks. You get such a diverse crowd of people, even among progressives. There's some closed-minded people, but most of the comments were pretty good.
Yeah,
and a lot of them in agreement, some of them provocative in one way or another. But it certainly did touch a nerve within the Daily Kos community to where that many people took the time not only to read the diary, but also to comment in it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's where David found you. And he is going to, David, I promise you, we're having Forrester Bob back together so that he can spend some time with you as
okay.
well. He's going to be so mad at me.
Well, I do. encourage all of your viewers to log on to Daily Kos if you've never done it before, because it's one of the most progressive blogs out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a self-policing community to where if somebody gets too out of line with their comments, they get banned. If you espouse conspiracy theories, you get banned. And so most of the comments are, there's a lot of critical thinking that goes on there.
Yeah.
And we do believe in science. We do believe in good government. There's a lot of different opinions within the Daily Kos community, but the founder of it, his motto was he founded the site in order to elect more and better Democrats. I'll say that again since I screwed it up. Elect more and better Democrats.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. We're at the top of the hour. We actually went over, but this was so worth it. It's been a great broadcast. I was glad to see the candidates, and thank Kanisha down in Waycross and Primus, Evans Primus. I don't know why I want to say Jones. Evans Primus and Joyce Griggs for joining us, and all the great work that they're doing to spread the word about voting and how important this is in this political season. And I am Tamara Johnson-Shealey, everybody, your candidate for the United States Senate, ready to serve, ready to take all of our issues straight to Washington. You find us every Saturday right here, David and I, and Forrester Bob is coming back probably sooner than later if once I talk to David and he sees this. So Forrester Bob, we look forward to having you back and continuing the conversation.
Yeah, great to be with you, Tamara.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. See you next week.
Bye, everybody.